Online, okay. Om Jnanatimidandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurminitanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead to the 6th verse of Upadeśāmṛta. Jishte svabhava janite rapushashta dosher na prakritatvam miha bhakta janasya pashyat gangamba sam nakalu budbuddha fena panker brahma jaratvam bhagachati nidadharmai. Do not consider devotees in this world mundane because of visible faults in their nature or body. The water of the Ganges never loses its spiritual nature because of bubbles, foam, and mud, all of which are natural in water. Okay, and now I'm going to scroll down to our Param Gurudev's comments on this verse. Here we are. Okay, so Param Gurudev Śrīla Bhakti Rakshak Śrīdhara Goswami Maharaj's comments on this verse, collected from his informal discourses. Here, according to the teachings of Srimad Mahaprabhu, Śrīla Rupa Goswami says that we should not be very eager to find any defect in a pure devotee. The purifying capacity of Ganges water cannot be identified with the water that we see externally to be the Ganges. That water may be filthy, foamy, or muddy, but it still has the capacity to purify. Why? What is it that can purify? Is it water? No. There is another aspect, and if that is analyzed, ultimately we will see the order of the Lord. It is His order that Ganges water will purify. It is that spiritual backing, that will, that is what makes it purifying. Just like one may question, what is the difference between so many Maha Mantras that are distributed in this way? Anybody can go and can find the Maha Mantra in some book or from one person or another. And no doubt there may be something there, some potency, but what is the difference between that, digging it, picking it up in some random place and receiving it with the spiritual backing, with the good will, with the conscious and deliberate good will of the Vaishnava? It is a completely different thing, because that will is there, that holy will, that spiritual backing is there. Like also that occasion we heard from Srila Śrīdhara Mahārāja when he was visiting the Gaudiya Math in the beginning, and he met with Srila Prabhupada, Saraswati Thakur, one afternoon, and Srila Prabhupada gave him some pamphlets, and Srila Śrīdhara Mahārāja said, "Oh, I already have that." And the person there who was attending to Saraswati Thakur, "No, this is something different. This is coming with his goodwill behind it. It's something completely different." So the Paramahamsas, they're always living with this type of vision. They're seeing what type of conscious backing is behind various objects and various transactions of this world. We are fixed on the objective side, the outer side. But the Vaishnavas, they are seeing that conscious backing behind. And so Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, what was his method of deity installation? Place one tulasi leaf at the feet of Krishna, at the feet of Mahaprabhu, bow one's head, request them to come, bas. That is all. That is all that is required. It is not that by performing so much, one may perfectly do so much, sacrifice and fire sacrifice and rituals and mantra chanting. One may very perfectly do that down to a T. But if the Lord is not feeling to descend, he's not attracted by that person who's performing all of these rituals, then all of that is useless. But the Vaishnava simply saying, please, my Lord, please come. Bas, that's it. Over. So we're trying to become more acquainted with that more subtle side of life. So what is it that is purifying about the Ganges? Why is it? Is it the water? No, it is the will of the Lord. It is his order that Ganges water will purify. So the purifying power comes from his will. His will is backing that. We should try to find the absolute backing everywhere. The water of the Ganges can purify even if bubbles or mud can be found within it. The bubbles and mud cannot stand in the way of purification. So, in a devotee who is meant only for the good of the universe, if we find some mud or bubbles, that they are angry, blind, or lame, and we attribute that to their inner self, then we are losers. We commit offense. And I don't know if it's included here, but there's one very nice quote in one of the articles in the Gaudiya Darshan magazines that Devidasi will publish, an article Śrīla Śrīdhara Mahārāja, and he says that the spiritual characteristic of the Vaishnava exists independently of the physical and mental planes. It is a completely different zone, aspect. So one may find so much deficiency or fault in the physical sense, or even in their mental sense. They may have some particular nature that appears to be rough or low in some way, some lack of intelligence or some lack of sensitivity or whatever it may be. But their spiritual characteristic may be very bright and very strong. So we must be very careful to overlook the faults that we see and appreciate that spiritual aspect. And there are some very funny, humorous stories in this regard. There's these are well-known stories, but we heard there was some incident when Śrīla Swami Maharaj he knocked over a glass of water, and one of his disciples just freaked out about this. How is it possible you could make a mistake? You're supposed to be perfect in every sense. I'm seeing you as absolute perfect. How can you make a mistake? He just could not accommodate that. Some tiny insignificant error. The Vaishnava, in the material sense, a Vaishnava may be faulty in some way, but that is not affecting their spiritual characteristic at all. Another ridiculous story, Srila Saraswati Thakur, somebody went to attend one of his lectures and saw that he was wearing glasses. They could not accommodate this. You're supposed to be perfect. How is it possible that you need to wear glasses? So, there's an immature vision. Okay. Arrogance may be of two types. Arrogance towards the higher and arrogance towards the lower. With good will, if a mother seems to be arrogant in dealing with her child, then we know that such arrogance is for the good of the child. Such apparent arrogance should not be considered real arrogance, or the arrogance of a passerby who comes to punish the child. A devotee may be seen to become angry for minor causes, but that anger should not be classified as ordinary anger. That anger will do good to the person with whom they are angry. And one example that comes to mind is this famous expression of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. He repeatedly mentions him, Chaitanya Bhagavat. I've gone to so much trouble to describe the glories of Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu in particular, and if still you people cannot understand this, then I will kick you in the head with my left foot. This apparently is a very arrogant expression, and we've heard, Srila Śrīdhara Mahārāja said how the ordinary scholars who read this, they criticized Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur for this. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaviraj Goswami, he speaks with such extreme humility. But who is this Vrindavan Das? He is so proud. Where is his Trinada Pisunichena? Where is his humility? But so how do, and Srila Śrīdhara Mahārāja, he also said, when he had heard these comments, and then when he was very pleased when he came to the Gaudiya Math, he heard Srila Saraswati Thakur's explanation of this, that actually by this expression, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, he's opening a new channel of mercy for persons who would otherwise have had no possibility of receiving the mercy of Mahaprabhu Nityananda. He's given some opportunity for them, because naturally the father, seeing that their child is disrespectful to somebody, they will come and try to make some compensation. Please excuse my child. They don't know what they're doing. They're very foolish. I'm very sorry. So in this way, Vrindavan Das Thakur, he is Nijajan. He is their own man, Mahaprabhu Nityananda Prabhu. So they're seeing their own man is behaving like this. They will make some compensation on behalf, for that misbehavior. And then another perspective, of course, is that this expression is not arrogance in the ordinary sense. It is rather an expression of humility to his Lord. Out of his devotion, his humility, love for his Lord, is speaking like this. Anyone who cannot appreciate this, it rouses this type of anger. So this is not ordinary anger. And our Gurudev, he could become angry sometimes for particular reasons, but not ordinary anger. One of Gurudev's nurses, she told me that once after Gurudev became very angry about something, maybe he was shouting, she was concerned about his blood pressure, and she went and tested his blood pressure. Absolutely the same. he got very excited, upset, and angry. But ordinary person, if they become like that, their heart's pounding, their pressure's rising. But Gurudev was not like that, not like an ordinary person. Completely separate, completely different. A devotee may be seen to become angry for minor causes, but that anger should not be classified as ordinary anger. And this afternoon, Saraswati Didi told us a funny comment of Gurudev's also in this regard, that there was on one occasion there was a fire, that electrical fire that started on Gurudev's veranda, and it was right next to Gurudev's bed. And of course everyone's very concerned, and Saraswati was trying to bring Gurudev out, but Gurudev was not in the mood to leave. He was just sitting there observing, and all the devotees on the veranda were getting in a panic, and one of the servitors started throwing water on the it was an electrical fire, with a socket and an electric heater. You're not supposed to put water, but one servitor is throwing water there, and all kinds of chaos going on. And Saraswati's trying to pull Gurudev out, but Gurudev's not leaving. And Gurudev's very intelligent, of course, in trying to direct them to find the place to turn off the electrical current that's connected to that socket or something like that. And then finally, it came to the end. It was solved. And then it was Kishori, who was one of Gurudev's nurses. She came in, and the devotees were concerned about Gurudev, and so I think they said, like, check Gurudev's blood pressure. And Gurudev told Kishori, you should check all of their blood pressure. Like, they're the ones who are all like panicking and flapping about. He was totally fine, unmoved. Okay, continue. A devotee may be seen to become angry for minor causes, but that anger should not be classified as ordinary anger. That anger will do good to the person with whom they are angry. That is, the anger of a Vaishnava to somebody else, that is actually their grace on that person. That is benefiting that person. Krodh bhakta dveshi jane. And this is a quote from one of Narottam Thakur's songs. He's describing the 6 enemies, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada, Matsarja, lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, envy. And he describes how all of these 6 enemies, they can be utilized in service. They can be utilized in some positive way. So here, how will anger be used? It will be directed to those who are inimical to the devotees of Krishna, who are anti. So the idea is that anger is being properly adjusted and expressed in the appropriate way. Krodh bhakta dveshi jane. This is the qualification. So a devotee cannot be judged independently. Sriman Mahaprabhu was angry sometimes. When Mahaprabhu was going on with kirtan behind closed doors, a brahmachari who was drinking only milk, taking nothing else, wanted to enter. I must be considered the purest. I drink only milk and nothing else. So why have they closed the doors against me? When at last the doors were opened, he exclaimed, Why was the door closed against me? Mahaprabhu showed anger at that time and replied, to drink milk is no qualification for Krishna consciousness. A tantric once put some wine and other things at the door of Srivas Thakur during the night to ridicule him. In the morning, Srivas opened his door, saw all these nasty things, wine, meat, and other items, and went to his good neighbors. Please see here how I am a tantric. Every night, with the help of this meat and wine, I worship the goddess Kali. The local gentleman felt very disturbed and wondered, who is the rogue that has done all these things? When Mahaprabhu was informed, he was very much enraged. That man must suffer. And Srivas Thakur's response is very exemplary. That somebody is putting something against him, and he's not disturbed. Rather, he's helping that. He's encouraging that person to think badly of him. Look and see what I have done. This is the real sentiment of a real Vaishnava. But Mahaprabhu, on the other hand, he is very angry that his devotee will be treated in this way. So in the same way, anything that is directed towards us, we will not be disturbed. We will tolerate that. But one may become angry that the Lord, that another Vaishnava, they are being mistreated, they are being dishonored in some way. That is normal feeling in the normal world. And abnormal feeling in this world is that we're disturbed about things that are directed against us, and we don't care so much about how others may be, mistreated in some way. Okay, so this person, Chapal Gopal, is the person who did this against Srivas. He was Chapal Gopal, and he contracted leprosy within a few days. Later, when Mahaprabhu returned to Navadvip after taking sannyas, Chapal Gopal fell at the Lord's feet. Mahaprabhu forgave him and he became a devotee. And this was a very special time. Srila Śrīdhara Mahārāja called it like an amnesty or something like that. It was a general amnesty. When Mahaprabhu came back to Navadvip, he returned after 5 years being away. Then so many sinful persons, he forgave them. And this was considered, actually, like the case of Chapa, Gopa and others, are considered very, very significant, because like in the case of Jagai and Madai is more famous, but they actually, they weren't such bad people in the sense that they were just ordinary sinful people. They were sinners. They were involved with material enjoyment, material exploitation. But spiritually, that is not really a serious crime. It is not really a crime, actually, at all. But Vaishnava aparad, to commit offense to the Vaishnavas, to be envious of a Vaishnava, this is a spiritual crime. That is a spiritual crime. That is a real crime. So the fact that persons like Chapa, Gopa were forgiven, that is, and no doubt they also had to go and ask for forgiveness from the Vaishnavas that they offended, of course. But Mahaprabhu also forgave them, and so it is very significant and very special that he gave such mercy. And of course, we're told that is in the area of aparad, of where our mat is aparad banjam pat. That's why it is known like that, because Mahaprabhu, he extended such grace in that place. And that place our Param Gurudev chose very humbly as the location of our mat. Also Devananda Pandit, he was another one. Devananda Pandit, he committed offense to, I think, Rakreshwar. I think it was Rakreshwar Pandit. He also was forgiven. In this world, anger sometimes is shown by the incarnation of God Himself, and sometimes by devotees also. But that is not harmful. It is for the good of the person. So the excitement found in a devotee should be taken in the proper way, not as ordinary anger. Satam ninda nam nam padam aparadam vitanute. In the beginning of taking the name, the first warning is there. Be aware of your association with the Sādhus. So this is the first offense to the holy name, satam, ninda, to criticize the devotee, the Vaishnava. This is described as padam aparadam, the greatest offense to the name. To offend the devotee, to criticize the devotee. In the beginning of taking the name, the first warning is there. Be aware of your association with the Sādhus. They are your well-wishers to the utmost. They are your well-wishers to the utmost. Really, they are the agents that carry good things to you. Be very much alert and do not commit any wrong against them. Do not misunderstand them. Their goodness is beyond your understanding. Their goodness is beyond your understanding. How good they are, you cannot even begin to comprehend. They love you so much. You cannot love yourself that much, because they see you as the property of their Lord. Wow, that's so beautiful. They love you so much. You cannot love yourself that much, because they see you as the property of their Lord. From that standpoint, they love you. That love is most high in quality and quantity. So always be careful and do not commit any wrong towards them. This is completely non-selfish, non-exploitative love. Not that I love you because you supply something to me, you give me something that I need, but this is properly adjusted love. They love you because they see you as the property of their Lord. From that standpoint, they love you. They're seeing you in that higher connection. And also, another way that we hear the Vaishnavas see is they see the Guru sees their disciple in connection with their Guru Maharaj. Like Gurudev, he expressed how he saw his disciples really as Guru Maharaj's disciples, not his own disciples. Or also he expressed that, like, I'm just in the middle. That, Guru Maharaj is your grandfather. The grandfather's relationship with the grandson is more sweet than the relationship between the father and son. So I'm just in the middle. Your relationship is really with your grandfather. And also the vision of Srila Saraswati Thakur that his disciples were extensions of his Guru, coming to assist him in his service to his Guru. So the Vaishnavas, they're never seeing things direct, the value of things according to the direct, connection with themselves. They're not seeing anything like that. They're seeing everything how it is connected with the Lord and with their Guru and the higher Vaishnavas. Gurudev once said, "You are all the genes of Guru Maharaj. You are all the genes, Genes. You are all the genes of Guru Maharaj." That was one day in Navadvip. The same as Srila Saraswati talked, that you are all like extensions, you are coming from like Guru Maharaj. So that is a deeper type of love. To see you in connection with that higher plane. I just want to read, this is a very nice quote of Srila Saraswati Thakur. I just want to read this because I'm reminded. Okay. The transcendental mediator, or Sri Gurudev, is a loving agent of the all-love. And here the Lord is referred to as the all-love. Again and again in this quote. So the transcendental mediator, or Sri Gurudev, is a loving agent of the all-love, and so will be kind to us who are seeking for a tie of love with the all-love. This embodiment of love will gradually lead our loving mood to that one who is the fountainhead and mainstay of all aspects of eternal love. This messenger is the pioneer leader of love, the courier of the all-love, the establisher of all relations of divine love, and the regulator and modifier of all our non-loving principles. So they're all about love. The Vaishnavas. Loving and connecting with that higher source of love. So, such a person, be careful with them. Don't get bewildered by some faults that they may have in the objective plane, that they have an old body, or that they're sick, or that they knock their glass of water, or they make mistakes, or they remember things wrong. Their memory is not always perfect. Don't be fooled. Don't get bewildered by that. Look past that. Understand what type of goodness are they trying to give you, what it is that they're standing for. Their goodness is beyond your understanding. So always be careful and do not commit any wrong towards them. Jadi Vaishnavaparad Uttehati Mata Upadeva Chindetar Sukhi Jai Pata. This is Mahaprabhu's instructions to Rupa Goswami about the Bhakti Lata Bij. So this Vaishnavaparad compared to a mad elephant that will enter the garden where your delicate creeper is growing and will just uproot it. This is the most dangerous thing. Gurudev, he would say, you know, I'm not afraid of anything, and really he wasn't afraid of anything. He said, but I'm afraid of one thing, to make Vaishnavaparad. I'm afraid of that. And so he said, so if I see a devotee with even a little something, some little degree of devotion, then I'm fearful. You know, I'm very careful. I do not want to make any offense to them. We must be very, very careful. And also, it's not just about what we're doing or saying, but it's on the level of consciousness also. And generally in Kali Yuga, we're told that sin committed in the mind, it does not count. In previous ages, it did count. Sin, even in the mind, you would have to get a reaction for that. But in Kali Yuga, because we're like so fallen and our mind is always sinful, we get some special allowance that is sinful. Sin committed in the mind, it won't count. You won't have to pay for that. We get some special dispensation. But Gurudev, he explained that not with Vaishnavaparad, because that is of a different category. That is not sin. Sin is affecting our physical and mental, our subtle material bodies, our subtle and gross bodies. But Vaishnavaparad, that is affecting our soul, our Atma. It is very serious. So mentally, you know, that does count. If we're harboring some critical, envious attitude towards some devotee, you gotta, like, when you catch yourself thinking like that, you have to like nip it in the bud. Just like cut it immediately, like stop. Like, reroute yourself. Turn the other way. Don't go there. Just don't go there. Redirect, you know. Look at your own self. Use that same energy to correct your own self. If any great crime somehow comes up against them, meaning if we commit a crime against a Vaishnava in the form of our offensive mentality, then the whole thing will be demolished, meaning our creeper of devotion will be demolished, because the Lord will be enraged. You are kicking those who come to give you the greatest wealth. What is this? You are the most wretched. And we could also mention here, there is some gradation. It's because we sometimes think in terms of like the great high Paramahamsa Vaishnavas, we don't want to make offense against them. And of course, it's true, if we make offense against them, then we're going to be seriously, you know, we have to face some serious consequences for that. But even just in the devotees amongst our group, anybody who has some degree of devotion within their heart, even if it's very small, even if they're a beginner, still, you know, that is Vaishnavaparad to some degree. That is sadhu ninda, and we will lose something because of that. Gurudev, when he was asked about, you know, why when Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada first started his movement in the West, things were like exploding and moving really, really fast, and it was like everybody was like on fire. You hear some of the stories of what the atmosphere was like in those temples. It's like just mind-blowing. And so they asked Gurudev, but now we're not seeing that. Like, why is that? And Gurudev said, because in the beginning, when Swami Maharaj was starting, there were no Vaishnavas. So like, you know, he was giving something, he was giving the holy name, they were taking it, and they were getting immediate results. But then everyone started to become Vaishnavas. Then they started to make offenses against each other. They're seeing the faults within each other and becoming critical. Then it's putting a stop, putting a halt to their progress. So we have to be so careful. Even somebody who joined yesterday, we have to be so careful how we are perceiving that person, how we are thinking of them. And we should not underestimate anybody. We should not underestimate anybody. If we do, it is also like offensive to our gurus, because we're undermining, we're underestimating the power of our gurus, the power of their mercy, and the power of this purifying force that everyone's coming in connection with. We're undervaluing that. So we have to really, like Gurudev expressed when one of Srila Śrīdhara Mahārāja's godbrothers expressed doubt about whether he could really have written some shlokas or not. Like, oh, Guru Maharaj, Śrīdhara Mahārāja wrote that. I don't think you could have written that. Gurudev felt hurt. Like, okay, maybe I'm nobody, but my Guru Maharaj is somebody. My Guru Maharaj is so great that he should be able to transform even a nobody like me. So by the power of my Guru Maharaj's grace, I'm able to do this. You're underestimating the power of my Guru Maharaj's grace by perceiving me like this. So he was hurt in that way. So we have to see everyone in that light. Now they've come in connection with Guru Gauranga, the ultimate purifying source. Anything is possible. We cannot underestimate anybody. And we have to be smart and appreciate person's spiritual wealth, as opposed, maybe somebody has some material defects, maybe somebody's not very intelligent, maybe somebody smells really bad, maybe somebody's like totally inept and they can't do any service nicely, or whatever it may be. But they have some devotion in their heart. They have some real spiritual wealth. We have to perceive that. We have to appreciate that. We can't criticize them for some mundane fault that they have. Or another danger is if a devotee has maybe they have some addiction in the past or at present, and we're criticizing them for that. They're not able to perfectly follow all the principles, and we're disrespecting them because of that. That is very dangerous for us. Those are actually negligible things. Some sin of some kind or another, that is negligible in comparison to what bhakti is. It is like nothing. Sattva, Raja, Tama, wet stool and dry stool, Srila Śrīdhara Mahārāja says, that is the difference. So someone may have some great piety, but it's just a mundane thing. And somebody else may have some real devotion, but they have some sinful tendencies. We have to be spiritually smart. We have to be intelligent, be able to distinguish. And if we can't, then we just don't pass any judgment at all. That's the thing. That's the safe position to take. And Gurudev used to say that we do not know who is a sadhu. We don't know. We don't have the eyes to see. We're not Paramahamsas. So we give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Or rather, we see everybody in terms of their great potential. So we have to be very careful. Otherwise, we're destroying our own self, and our lack of appreciation for others and our criticism of others. We're not destroying that person. We're destroying our own self. Like in the case of Durvasa Muni, when he offended Ambarish Maharaj, it was just had a boomerang effect. Ambarish Maharaj is totally fine. He's perfectly situated. He's protected by the Lord. But Durvasa Muni, he actually was harming his own self by his critical attitude towards Ambarish Maharaj. So it has this, boomerang effect. Or like Srila Śrīdhara Mahārāja also like chewing poison. That poison is coming to you in your analysis. So we have to be careful in general not to see things in a material way. We have to see things in a spiritual way, with spiritual vision, according to spiritual principles, and always see the connection of Guru there. Okay, I'll continue. We must be careful about the first type of namaparad, sadhu ninda. There is a verse by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Vaishnav charitra sarvara paricha, jai ninde himsa kore bhakati vinod, na sambhashe tare take saramona dori, from Kalyan Kalpatadu. The character of a Vaishnav is always very pure. If anyone out of motive cruelly speaks ill of them, then Bhakti Vinod will not talk with them. He will keep silent. If anyone comes to abuse a Vaishnav, then we will show full non-cooperation. This is very nice. We will show full non-cooperation. If anyone comes to abuse a Vaishnav, then we will show full non-cooperation. This is a nice expression to remember. Because this is another danger. And this is so easy to get sucked in. We're trying to be really careful. And then somebody else comes and like start putting something in our ear. And, oh, this person did this and this person did that. And oh, I don't understand why they said this or why they said that. Or, do you know what they did yesterday? Do you know what this person said yesterday? All the people are sticking this stuff in our ear. And then we get sucked in. Oh, yes, yes. And like, stop. Do not cooperate with that. Passive resistance movements. This is Gandhi style. Full non-cooperation movement here. And Gurudev was like that. I think I mentioned that yesterday. Didn't like to hear it. When Śrīdhara would like to tell us how once he went to Gurudev, can I tell you something, Gurudev? As long as you're not going to say anything critical about a Vaishnava, then you can say to me anything, but not that. I don't want to hear that. He really didn't like that. He showed non-cooperation, not sympathy, or empathy with that. I'm not cooperating with this. We sometimes go to judge the cases of others. Why should they receive causeless mercy? They have so many defects and disqualifications. Why should they be accepted or given any chance? Yet at the same time we pray for ourselves. Oh Lord, don't come to judge me, then I will have no hope. Please grant me your grace, my Lord. Then I can have the hope of approaching you. I can only make progress towards you if you will become very lenient towards me and not find fault in me. But at the same time, in the same breath, we wonder, why should this man who is disqualified get any grace? Why should he get any mercy or affection? That is hypocritical for us and causes a great deal of difficulty within us. It is suicidal. Such is Vaishnava Ninda, Vaishnava Parad. The Lord will gradually purify those that are accepted by Him, yet we are very eager to point out faults in them. This is very dangerous for our own progress. It is suicidal. I'm just gonna call it. So I'm just gonna okay, well, I'll just continue. For our own case, we want something higher, but in the case of others, we can't tolerate the same behavior of the Lord. That is a very difficult position. Generally, it is this that is the basis of Vaishnava Parad. We give much attention to the difficulties still left in those who have been accepted by the Lord and are being gradually purified by Him. Very particularly, those difficulties come to our attention. And what is the result? The result is that those difficulties are transferred to us. This is the reality of experience in this line. If we mark especially the fault of another devotee, that fault will be transferred to us. It happens. In my experience and in the scriptures also, I have seen this. So we must be very careful generally not to make any remark about the practices and activities of other Vaishnavas. Only in the case when one is empowered by the Supreme can this be done, as in the case of a guru with his disciples. A guru with the guardian's sympathetic eye can detect and mark the defects of his disciples to help to correct and remove them. There must be some affection of the heart within this, and not any jealousy or anything of that type. With good will, a Vaishnava wants to remove faults as an affectionate guardian. So from the position of a Shiksha Guru or Diksha Guru, one may detect the faults of students of this line and help them sincerely to get out of them. But otherwise, if we are attracted by those faults, they will come to us and we will have to pay for that. It is a practical thing, and it is based on reason and scriptural advice as well. So we must be careful. We are warned in the Vaishnava literature that we must be careful about Vaishnava aparad. It comes either from the spirit of competition or jealousy. It is very detrimental to our spiritual life, so we must all be very careful about that. We should not allow ourselves to become especially attracted by any defect in another. If it comes to our eye, we may refer it to a higher authority. This is like sincere and clean approach. If we were really concerned it's like worth attention, then we will refer it to somebody else who's in a position to deal with it. If we make too much of it, either in opposition or otherwise, it will be transferred to us. We will feel, I am being devoured. My mind is coming in touch with that fault and devouring it as food. In this way, a critic becomes contaminated. Anyhow, a fault enters into the mental system of the critic, and it must get its satisfaction there as a reaction. Wow. This is so heavy. So, as there are trade secrets, so this is a secret in devotional life. This is a trade secret of devotional life. We must be aware of it, and we must be very careful about such practical difficulties on the path of our life. Well, I think it's a good place to stop maybe. There's some more nice content. Maybe continue this tomorrow. I think I'm going to stop there. Jai Śrī Upadeśāmṛta ki jai. Śrī Upadeśāmṛta.